Okay, I hope you can hear me. Welcome everyone. It's a little bit new for me here with Zoom, so I hope it all works out. Please, if you're not planning to talk, then please mute yourself, otherwise we might get strange noises in the background. Okay, yeah, I really hope everything works well. I've only participated in Zoom meetings so far, but not being the organizer. Okay, can somebody write in the chat if you can hear me and see me, if that works? Okay, thank you. Okay, then let's start. Yeah, welcome to this Bodhichitta session. And yeah, please start with a good motivation, which is beyond just kindness or good heart or compassion. Of course, these are very important. But then also on top of that, please develop bodhichitta, the wish really to attain Buddhahood, which is really something beyond the world that we know, for the sake of all sentient beings, so that we really bring everybody into that enlightened state. Yeah, please, in your own words or in your own heart, please develop that good motivation. Okay, so I muted all of you, but in case you have a question in between, just raise your hand, and then I will unmute you. And then it would be also nice to see your face, then at least then please put in on your video, but you can also do it already now, which is also nice. But yeah, don't feel forced. And so I believe and think and hope that you all joined the Bodhisattva vow ceremony with Tsongsa Khyentse Rinpoche that happened on the Vesak day, on Thursday. So let's see where we are here in the text regarding to the Bodhisattva vow ceremony. As Rinpoche pointed out, bodhicitta just doesn't happen like that, without causes and conditions. But if you read the Bodhicharyavatarā, first you understand the benefits of bodhicitta. That is the first chapter, and then sort of you make your mind ready to really develop and generate bodhicitta and to take the bodhisattva vow. And this readiness to be a bodhisattva, there are different traditions, from Nagarjuna, Asanga, Longchenpa. But if you combine those instructions, then the condition for bodhicitta is that you have an open mind, a clear mind, and that you have merit, like an open, clear mind. And the traditional way to develop that open, clear, meritorious mind are the 7 branches. And these, in the Bodhicharyavatarā, we accomplished and practiced them in the 2nd chapter and in the first half of the 3rd chapter. And then in the 3rd chapter, as Khyentse Rinpoche granted, we take the Bodhisattva vow. And then in the end of the 3rd chapter, we then rejoice in what we have just vowed, in what we have just committed. And we rejoice because, being on the Bodhisattva path is good for us and is good for everyone else, so that is really a cause for celebration. Then we studied already the 4th chapter, number 4. This is called carefulness here, or conscientiousness. And here, it's this is also this is really like important for us to then be able to practice discipline. And here the fourth chapter started a little bit to talk about discipline, but then also it talked about the precepts, what to do and what to avoid, and how to behave carefully. And then also Shantideva was reflecting on the precious human life, also in order to behave more carefully. And then also Shantideva was reflecting on the kleshas, the negative emotions, in order to avoid them, in order to behave and conduct yourself more carefully. And within that part, of the chapter 4, Shantideva talked about the defects, the side effects, the negativities of negative emotions, and also that we are able to have the courage, and the patience to really go through hardships in order to overcome the negative emotions, and then that we really abandon the negative emotions. So that is all chapter 4, and then we come to chapter 5, where we are at the moment. And chapter 5 is called vigilance or alertness or introspection. And there was first the point, that we are guarding the mind, to implement all these trainings. And this has been covered in the first 22 verses of this chapter. And we are now in the second point of chapter 5, where we are talking about using mindfulness and alertness to really protect our mind. And there we are in verse 26, I think, where we try to understand that there are like side effects or disadvantages if we don't have that alertness or introspection. So this is where we are at. And now the thing is, it is these terms, they're a little bit, normally in oral commentaries, by the teachers, these terms are a little bit mixed here and there, we have terms like mindfulness, we have terms like awareness, vigilance, alertness, carefulness, conscientiousness, and so on, they actually have a very clear definition, but then, in oral teachings, they are not always precisely used in the way how they are defined, for example, in the Abhidharma or Abhidharma Samuccaya, for example, by Asanga. But this is really important, to at least once have the right definitions in your mind, or the right understandings of these terms. So, and then I will go into the text. So the idea is, the whole idea what we are talking about here in chapter 4 and 5 is we want to have the right ethical behavior, the right discipline. That is the second parameter. That is our goal here, that we want to achieve, that we are behaving properly in a way that is beneficial for others, that is leading others to the truth, and that is also beneficial for us and also leading ourselves to the truth, and that we abandon everything that is an obscuration. So that is the aim. So how to attain that aim of discipline, of second parameter? So first step is we study and reflect about the Buddhist teachings, and there we hear what to do and what not to do. Like killing is not good, don't do it. Saving life is good. Being stingy is not good. Being generous is good. Those things we learn. Basically, ego-centeredness is not good, and altruism or having a good heart is good. So we learn these distinctions in the Sutrayana, what we are talking about, So that is the first step. And then comes the second step is mindfulness. Mindfulness in Tibetan is Drenpa, and mindfulness means, or Drenpa also means like recollection or remembrance. So that is the second step where we remember what we should do and what we should not do. That is mindfulness or Drenpa. Remembrance, forgetfulness. That is just, remembering, reminding ourselves, being mindful about what to do and what not to do. That is chapter 5 also, And then the next step is then being vigilant or aware or having introspection or being alert. That is all the same. It's also chapter 5, and that is called Sheshin in Tibetan. So that means like watching our mind, body, and speech, and just watching what is happening, and watching and noticing if we are tempted to do something stupid, if we are tempted to do something dodgy, if we are tempted to do something that we should not do. Let's say I feel, I want to kill a person, or I want to tell a lie, or I want to do something selfish, that we, with introspection, vigilance, alertness, awareness session, we notice that we have that wish, that tendency. That is the third step, also chapter 5. And then the next and the final step is Bhagyo in Tibetan, which is carefulness, conscientiousness. That means that we then remind ourselves, killing, or what examples did I give? Lying or being egoistic has disadvantages, Therefore, I will not do it, even though I'm tempted to do it. And the opposites, like saving lives, protecting lives, prolonging lives, freeing lives, or honesty, truthfulness, or altruism has advantages and benefits, and therefore I will do that carefully. So these are like the steps, First we understand. So first step was I understand what the Buddhist teachings, what to do and what not to do. Second step, I'm mindful and I remember these instructions, what to do and what not to do. Then third step, I'm vigilant, I'm aware, I'm watching my mind and see if I'm tempted to do the wrong thing. And then fourth step is conscientiousness or carefulness, that then I'm not giving into that temptation, but I remember the goodness of virtues and the disadvantages of non-virtuous actions, and therefore I'm not doing those negative things. And that is actually chapter 4, So the conscientiousness or carefulness is actually chapter 4. The definitions I just gave are from Pato Rinpoche. So therefore, in Shantideva, according to Pato Rinpoche, Shantideva's explanation on how to develop discipline is a little bit starting from the top and then going down. Because now, when we talk about now in 5th chapter about mindfulness and introspection, then that is really the base. And then comes carefulness or conscientiousness, and then comes discipline. Okay, sorry, that was a little bit lengthy. Let's go into the verses now. And as I said, raise your hand here on Zoom. Or maybe I give you the verses in a PDF here. I can put that in the group chat. The verses for today and a little bit more. Does it work? Yes. So it's loading. Yeah. So here I just copy pasted some of the verses from Stephen Batchelor's translation, because I think for me as a non-native speaker, then this is like the most easiest to understand. And yeah, I'm not sharing my screen here. I know I could do it, but I heard then the that eats a lot of internet, basically. So then it will be, the connection will be worse. So therefore I keep it like that. Okay, but thank you, Media, for saying that. And I'm just looking here at some of your pictures and videos. Thank you. It's good to see you guys. Okay, then. So last time we ended actually with verse 25, but just to go back to 24 and 25 again, you know, so here now we talk about what are the disadvantages of not having introspection? You know, what are the disadvantages of not being vigilant? Yeah, what I wanted to say earlier, you know, when I said the different steps, that is like really the definitions, you know. But then, as I said, the teachers normally, you know, they mix these terms a little bit here and there, because they are also not so different, you know. And they're all very much interconnected, you know, but just once it's good maybe to hear the distinctions between these terms, you know, mindfulness, vigilance, alertness, introspection, conscientiousness, and so on. So here, verse 24, we started to talk about the drawbacks of not having that vigilance, not having that alertness. And so here, Shantideva was saying that there is the problem is we are not really able to do something great, you know. He's giving the example, if you are sick, of course, the current example is if you have a virus, you know, then you might not be able to really do something, because you might be, what are the symptoms? You know, you're very tired maybe, or you have a lot of headache, or you're coughing, you know. So that makes you really weak. And therefore, if you are sick physically, you know, you will not be really able to do a lot of work, you know. You might be even so sick in this example, you know, that you need a ventilator, that you can't even breathe yourself, you know. That shows, you know, how weakening an illness can be. And that is the example here that Shantideva is using. Likewise, you know, in verse 24, if our minds are confused, you know, then also, we get very clouded. I think it's called brain fog also, you know. So we get very foggy in our mind and unclear about what to do and what not to do. And if we don't really know what to do and what to avoid, then, out of long-term habits, we might do the wrong things, you know, and create suffering for others and ourselves. And so therefore that can happen then. So that is here Shantideva's example, you know, if our mind is confused, you know, if our mind has the virus sort of, you know, then our mental power is weaker, and we are not clear what to do and what to avoid, and therefore we might do negative actions which bring a lot of suffering to ourselves and others. And in verse 25, then Shantideva is pointing out that if we don't have introspection or alertness, then we are also not really able to develop wisdom, because we are not a good container. You know, you might know that from Patrul Rinpoche's book, for example, about the 3 defects of a vessel. So if we don't have introspection, you know, then Patrul Rinpoche's or Shantideva's example here is, you know, it's just our mind is like a leaking vase. You know, whatever you put in, it's going out. You know. Here in the Tibetan, in this verse, it's called Drempa, which is this mindfulness. So actually, to be precise, here in that verse 25, we are not talking about a lack of introspection or alertness, but a lack of mindfulness or remembrance. So, but yeah, the commentators usually put that into lack of introspection. So, but in the first, or but in the second line there, as Stephen Batchelor is translating there, it talks about lack of alertness. I will not go into that again. Just to show what words are used, and of course, as I said, they are very interconnected. So if even though we are learned, even though we have contemplated and meditated upon the Dharma, if our mind lacks both of them, mindfulness and alertness, then everything leaves our mind, it's not really then ingrained and in our mind, our heart or the vase will never be full with what we have learned and contemplated. It will always leave us again, it's like a pot with a hole, it's a vase with a leakage. So therefore Shantideva is saying wisdom is not really possible. Okay, and then we come to verse 26. That is now the first new verse. There's a question. Mitya, do you want to ask that? As I said, if you have a question, please just raise your hand and then I will unmute you and then you can ask your question directly. I think that is more nice. Wait, I will find you and even maybe show your video.
Yes, I was just typing the questions about. I was referring about the leaking jar mind. Is that including the ignorance mind, or the observations telling me I currently kind of like in the reluctant to do anything, either because of the conditions or I don't know, or I'm just trying maybe to accept I'm in the animal realm, isn't it? Full of ignorance, Is that same with the one that you refer as the strength of our mind is, getting weaker, like that leaking jar, because maybe lack of practice or something like that. Is that same? That the mind state is just like that. Is it same?
Yeah, here actually in the commentaries, it is said that, or even in the first line here, even those who have much learning. So here we are saying actually we have intelligence, we have knowledge, and even we know therefore what to do and what to avoid. But the commentators say if we don't really look into our mind, then we can't really see our temptations to do negative things, and then automatically we will do negative actions, and that then of course creates suffering, and then that creates actually confusion in the end in our mind, and therefore we cannot really retain the teachings that we have learned. That is how it is explained here. It's a little bit strange because actually it's according to like Khenpo Kunsang Palden, it really talks about people who are intelligent, who have knowledge through hearing and contemplation. But then, because you're not really looking into your mind, you are then following your old habits, and then even though intellectually you know what to do and what to avoid, you then end up doing the wrong things.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe the old habit. Yeah, I will blame that. Thank you.
It's not exactly an animal film.
Thank you, but I don't know how this is going to work this time because this is the first time we're doing it with Zoom. So yeah. I'm just trying to follow your method. If you allow us to discuss, it might be opening up the chance to have a private consultation. I'm sorry. Let's move on to the next chapter, I think. Okay. Thank you.
It's nice to have discussion. I think it's nicer as long as it's on the verses, you know. It's if it's not,
because it's the text in the book. I was trying to connect with the text that you have in the book, because I know that my condition of mind is like that. That's why I know that my mind is in the state of not wanting to do anything, as if like the animal realm experience, as previously you were saying. So that's why I'm trying to associate, is that because of my training is not proper, that's why my mind mental strength is maybe just like this analogy of leaking jar. That's what I'm trying to confirm. But maybe, okay, thank you. I think you point out the good spot there. I think I forget about the habit. I'll blame it in the habit.
Habit is always a culprit, yes.
Yeah, it's the habit. Thank you.
We're basically good, but our habits are misleading. Okay, then the next one. Wait, where are we here? 27, right? Wait. Yeah. Okay, then 27. Here we talk about the thieves. You know, yeah, you all have the root verse. So here we talk about a lack of both again. You know, a lack of alertness, a lack of mindfulness, and therefore, yeah, we're not really looking into our mind, what is happening there, and then by that we basically we don't have much light in our mind, you know. That is what the commentators say. So therefore we get some darkness in our mind, because we're not really looking clearly what is happening in our mind, and we're not really looking clearly if we are following the Dharma or not. And therefore there comes a darkness in our mind, like an ignorance. And again, we forget then, or we are ignorant about what to do and what not to do. And this ignorance, again, this cloudiness in our mind, then invites the thieves or the bandits, you know, that are the negative emotions, you know. They come into our mind, and that then also will make it difficult for us to accumulate merit. Because if we are like overpowered by negative emotions, then yeah, first of all, we forget what is good and bad to do, and we will end up doing something blindly or egoistically. And so that also will lead to the destruction of some merits that we have already accumulated. In the 6th chapter, I'm sure you have heard that there Shantideva is saying that that by a moment of anger, you know, we destroy a lot of merit that we have accumulated already in the past. So here's a similar thing, you know. Once our protection is down, you know, once we don't have mindfulness and alertness, then our kleshas, the bandits, the thieves, can come in our mind and make us a beggar, you know. They take everything away, you know, all the merit they take away that we are about to accumulate or that we have accumulated already. And that is really dangerous in a way, because if we either destroy merit that we have already accumulated, or if we are not really accumulating new positive karma, which is the case in the next verse, then our future will not be so super bright, you know. Then we might do so many negative things because of the kleshas that came in, and thanks to the lack of merit, we might be reborn in lower realms, you know. So therefore, that is always Shantideva's angle here, or perspective here, that these kleshas, these negative emotions, are really much worse than all the outer enemies we can have in this life, because the outer enemies in this life, they can only kill us. They can't do worse than that. But these kleshas, by destroying our positive karma or merit, and also by making us accumulate more negative karma, they destroy not only this life, but future lives. Because sort of the life force, the merit of having good rebirths will be killed or stolen here in this example. Therefore, again, the idea is, please therefore practice mindfulness and introspection. Then verse 28. This is also about merit, but here it's more about that it prevents, the lack of introspection prevents us to accumulate future merit. So here it says, this host of thieves who are my own disturbing conceptions, like negative emotions, will search for good opportunity. So there are these smart thieves, these kleshas, negative emotions, this dualistic mind, they're like a gang, and they wait night and day, for the right opportunity or chance, to attack us and then rob us, or rob the merit, and take the merit away. And when these kleshas, when these robbers find this opportunity to do so, then they will steal all my virtue. And they can only do it if our mind is not mindful, if our mind is not alert. These are really our best protections. But if we lose this mindfulness or alertness, then kleshas come in immediately. And then, as I said earlier already, then they will destroy our merit and they will prevent us from creating good new merit. And therefore, as it said here in the last line of verse 28, then also a happy future life will be destroyed, because for that we need good merit. And that is, as I said, that is sort of stolen by these negative emotions. Okay, then now here in chapter 5, now we come to instructions how we then practice mindfulness or alertness. This is here now taught in verse 29 and 33. And so here they're like, 29, 30, these 5 verses, they have like 5 points, that can help us to really have that mindfulness and vigilance. And first in verse 29, Shantideva is saying, okay, now you have understood, that there are these side effects or disadvantages if you don't have mindfulness or vigilance, that your actions are not weak, you are like a sick person, or your discipline is not good, or you're overpowered by habits, and merit will not be accumulated, or merit might even get destroyed. So therefore, let's not be mindless, let's not have a lack of alertness, but let's generate these qualities. And so here in verse 29, Shantideva is saying, therefore I shall never let mindfulness, drenpa in Tibetan here, depart from the doorway of my mind. I think here, according to Tsongsa Khyentse, which is commentary, and it makes total sense, the Shantideva is still using basically the example of the robbers or the thieves, So we have to put mindfulness at the door, what is called like a bouncer, right? Like a door or gatekeeper. Always, and firmly, we have to put mindfulness there, at the door of our house, and the house is our mind here, so that we protect our mind or our house, that you know, these 5 unwanted guests or thieves or robbers come in, you know, these 5 negative emotions. So, because if they would come into our house, into our mind, as I said, you know, they will steal all these good things that we have, you know, all this merit we have accumulated, all the treasure we have in our house. And so therefore we need to put the gatekeeper, you know, the mindfulness or the alertness in front of the gate, you know. I think also it makes sense to apply that to really the gates. Normally we say are our senses, you know, sense organs or sense consciousnesses, that especially there, you know, that is where we are usually distracted by, you know, so therefore it's good to really have that alertness or this edge or this mindfulness there, you know, to not get distracted and by the 5 sense objects, you know, that would only produce negative emotions, you know, the thieves that then come into our mind. But Shantideva is saying then in the 3rd line, if it goes, you know, if our mindfulness is forgotten, you know, and our mind is distracted, you know, and of course that happens again and again and again, then we should remember the teachings, you know, and especially that what was said earlier, you know, if that we understand mindlessness or lack of alertness leads to distraction, leads to expression of negative habits, leads to destroying the merit. So we remember that and we understand that these will all have suffering as a consequence, even like the suffering in lower realms, as it says here. So by remembering that, that is actually called mindfulness, yes, but it's also called conscientiousness. And then we reestablish our mindfulness or our introspection, you know? So then we don't give in to our habits. Basically, we are not just doing what we feel like, you know, but we try to then remember what Buddha has said or our teachers have said, and then we try to act accordingly. That is, I think, this verse here. And as I said, you know, as beginners, we are always distracted. Not always, but maybe 99%. That just happens, you know. Our mind is running always after some things and running away from other things. So that is just our habit, you know. So therefore, we lose mindfulness again and again, you know, we lose alertness again and again. Therefore, we should try to again and again remember to practice these qualities, you know, we should try to put them again and again as the doorkeeper in front of the house. And then, yeah, usually the teachers say, if you notice that you have been distracted, you know, that you have been again being entangled in habits, then that is a good thing, you know, that you notice that now. That is a wonderful thing. So that is when you are back in meditation, or when you are back to clarity, and when you are conscious again. So therefore, that is the moment to celebrate, you know, that is. And so that is how we should see it. We should not feel guilty, you know, that okay, again I have been distracted, you know, again I have been mindless. Don't feel like that. They all say, Jigme also said that, you know, but celebrate, you know, that oh, now I have this awareness again, you know, the awareness or mindfulness or clarity, you know, that oh, I have been distracted. That clarity, Jigme said, is worth more than 1,000 kilo of gold, you know. So that is, I think, also what Shantideva is asking us here, you know. Don't feel guilty, you know, that you're distracted again and again and again. I mean, this is really our, not really nature from Buddhist point of view, but our second nature. It's such a strong habit to be distracted and to be not here, to be not clear, to be unaware. So therefore, that is, as I said, it's like our second nature. It's our character. So of course, it's not right. Sort of in a way, it's not really helpful. But we can't deny it. It is like that at the moment. And so let's try not to give into that habits and really celebrate whenever we are noticing that we have been distracted. Because that noticing means actually our clarity is back, our awareness is back. And from meditative point of view, and also from the Vajrayana point of view, that is the main thing, to have the awareness back. It doesn't matter so much what is happening in our minds. As long as we are aware, then that is the good. That is the good news. Okay, and then so that is like a brief explanation, that mindfulness is important, or introspection is important, and that we should try to generate it. And then Shantideva is saying here in verse 30, and especially for beginners, it's really good if you have a guru or a lama in this context, or a master, or a kempo, or a preceptor, or a spiritual friend, to help you to develop that mindfulness, that introspection. So therefore, in verse 30, Shantideva is saying, through staying in the company of spiritual masters, through the instructions of abbots, this is actually kempo in Tibetan, and through fear, therefore mindfulness will be generated. So here the first two lines say, it is really helpful if we have a lama or a teacher who practice these qualities, mindfulness and introspection, and then also teaches correctly these qualities to the disciples. And then, yes, these instructions then should, of course, be taken to our heart, and then also we should have fear. That is really the word here in the Tibetan. It's jigpa. Jigme. Many teachers are called jigme, like fearless. And so here is really like fear. We should have fear. In the sense, that we are afraid. There are two things that come in, like shame and embarrassment. So let's say we might be even afraid, that the teacher is wrathful with us, or scolding us, of not following her or his instructions. That we should fear. And there are some teachers who are more strict, and you really, yes, you are always on your toes. Is it like that? You're always afraid that she or he will scold you, So I think because you are in awe also to your teacher, So you're afraid of your teacher, maybe even because, again, you don't follow his or her instructions, or you're also afraid because you know that your wrongdoing has consequences that make you suffer by themselves. So that is meant here by fear. And as I said earlier, there are like two important terms, again from the Abhidhamma Samuccaya by Arya Asanga. It's shame and embarrassment. And that is important to differentiate, and both, I don't know actually in English so much. In German, it doesn't sound so positive to be ashamed or to be embarrassed. But in the Tibetan context, I mean, in Buddhism, these are good qualities. So embarrassment is what we want to have here. That is related to that fear in this context, that we are embarrassed in front of others, and therefore we stop our misconduct because we know that others, in this case the Buddhas, the Lamas, the Sangha, the teachers, are not approving our misconduct. So we use embarrassment, that we feel embarrassed in front of the teacher, let's say, in front of the Sangha, by that helps us then to stop doing dodgy things, It stops us doing the wrong things, So you're basically encouraged, by knowing they will disprove my bad actions. So you are encouraged to therefore not do these bad actions. That is embarrassment. So it's a good thing, because you are afraid that others will disapprove, and therefore you stop doing bad things. So that is the one thing that is meant here. But then the other thing is shame. This is more that that you actually disapprove your action, It's your own disapproval, that makes you stop the negative action. So and that shame here from Buddhist point of view, that actually comes because you feel self-worth. Again, I think in German it has a different connotation, and I guess in English too. And here, where are you from? I see, for example, Jon from Holland, or some names sound very Spanish or Portuguese, and Pallavi from India. So maybe you have maybe a similar, also different connotation with shame. But shame, again, here is a positive thing. You have actually the self-worth, and a self-confidence, sort of. And then you see, no, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do that negative thing. And therefore you stop that negativity. And that gives you also enthusiasm, to then not do the negative thing. And so you encourage yourself. But again, this is not meant here. Here we're talking about teachers out there. So we talk about others. So here we use embarrassment, But just for the sake of completeness, I wanted to talk about this shame, which is really in front of yourself. You don't want to be that asshole, basically, So that really is not feeling guilty, but just actually I know what is good to do, and therefore I feel ashamed if I'm not following that. So anyway, here just I saw that you guys wrote questions, and I just want to finish that verse. So here, verse 30 is saying, so we have teachers, in Vajrayana we call them gurus or spiritual friends, Kalyana Mitra, and with in front of them, and because we are in awe to them, or we are embarrassed in front of them, we are afraid of them, maybe. All this here is we use it in a good way to then easily and quickly generate mindfulness. So, and this is then done by the fortunate people, the fortunate practitioners, those who have merit, those who understand, that it is inappropriate not to follow the teachings, and it's inappropriate not to follow the Rinpoche's advice, and therefore you then immediately and easily will generate mindfulness, and that really that is why the teacher in general is very important, because that then is that embarrassment, or that awe or that fear, you can have all the path, all along the whole path, so therefore once you have a teacher and she or he has accepted you as a student, and you have accepted her or him as a teacher, once that is intact, that teacher is like watching you, it's like all the time, and is making sure, that on each level or step or stage of the path, you are doing the right thing, basically, and that you don't go astray. So that is important. And therefore also in the Vinaya teachings, like Vinaya is the teaching for monks and nuns, there's also said, the teacher is so important. Therefore, if you are a fully ordained monk or nun, in the beginning, you should not should not leave, but you should stay 10 years with the teacher, to really have that training right from the start and to really be on the right track. Yeah, as I said here, the embarrassment or the fear is used in a positive way. It's because the teacher is right. So therefore it's embarrassing to not follow his or her instructions. Okay, so here is one question by Zhang Shup. Yeah, where is Zhang Shup? Here. I just unmute you and maybe you can say what you, oops, Zhang Shup is gone. Oh, here, yes. Can you say what your question is? Zhang Shup, sound is disabled. Okay. But then I copy your thing to everyone. So Zhang Shup is saying, if we got aware, we free of kleshas, but again lost of aware, it sounds like eternal fight. Maybe another method to go away out of kleshas. I think we are talking about habit here, right? That we that sometimes we are aware, and so therefore we don't let in the robbers in our house, the kleshas. But then other times we are not aware, and then the kleshas come into our mind, in our house, and then they rob. Yeah, it sounds really like an eternal fight, but the good news is it is not. Because the good news is, from Vajrayana point of view, the kleshas, or other word, obscurations, are removable. That is the good news. That is the proof that there is Buddha nature. So therefore, yes, in the beginning, maybe I have more often kleshas are in my mind than my mind being klesha free. So yes, at the moment, maybe I'm losing my fight, as you put it, and yes, it looks hopeless and it looks eternal. But if I'm able to, let's say I have 98% of the time kleshas are the predominant thing in my mind. If I manage through whatever method, and let's say Shantideva's method works here, this method, but Shantideva has also other methods, like Tonglen will be a big method in chapter 8. If I'm able to reduce kleshas to 97%, from 98 to 97%, that is already a great achievement, and that shows that there's a little bit more hope, that the fight is possible and the victory is possible, I mean, fight is always possible, but that the victory is possible. So if I can remove it a little bit to 97, I'm sure I can remove it to 96, and I'm sure I can remove it to 93 and to 88 and so on, percentage, so it's all a matter of training, let's say so far I haven't really worked on my kleshas, but if I start now, I can make a difference. So it will not be an eternal fight, and I will have more qualities and power and methods and skills, to really gain the victory over the kleshas. At the moment, yes, difficult, but it will get better, sort of, because I have more tools in my toolbox, My meditation is more powerful. And maybe another method to go away out of kleshas, what you say, yes, of course. As I said, there are many relative methods, like Tonglen is a great method, compassion, basically, love. But then also emptiness is of course a huge method to, maybe emptiness is not the method, but wisdom, you know, the wisdom that sees or realizes the emptiness. That is a huge method, you know, seeing that the kleshas are not really there. That is also what we find in Prajna Paramita teachings, you know, like when you discuss with substantialists, you know, like Vaibhashika or Sautantrika schools, you know, but people who think, kleshas, obscurations, they're really there, so therefore we need really an antidote to get really rid of them. But actually, from Madhyamika point of view, or even Shittamatra point of view, the kleshas are not really there. They're not really truly existent, you know. So that makes the whole path also more workable, you know, or more light or more humorous, because there is not actually a klesha to get rid of, you know, from the ultimate perspective, because the klesha was never really there. There was actually never a robber in the house. It was just whatever. It was just a mirage, you know, or something, or like a optical illusion, you know. So it was not actually a robber. So no problem, you know. But of course, no problem from that point of view. So we need the wisdom that sees emptiness. That is, of course, another method, as you say, you know, to work with kleshas. So you say, Jamshub says, in this case, there is no house, right? Yeah, that is a good question. From Madhyamika point of view, since the house here is the example from mind, and I use sem, Tibetan word sem here, the conceptual mind or the normal mind that we know, yes, that is of course also not truly existent. So therefore the house itself is not truly existent. Nothing is truly existent. So that is actually the point, you know. So if there is nothing truly existent, therefore there's nothing really truly existent to overcome, and there's nothing really truly existent to achieve, you know. That is what Heart Sutra, for example, says, you know. No increase and no decrease, no attainment and no non-attainment, no obscuration and no non-obscurations. You know, all these things are said in the Prajna Paramita Sutras. So there is actually no increase of Buddha qualities, and there's actually no decrease of obscurations, because they have never really been there. So what you're asking what we get rid or overcome? Yeah, that is a good question again. We overcome our wrong perception of things, you know. That is all, you know. We overcome our unawareness. We overcome our impure outlook. That's it. And then the so-called obscurations, the so-called kleshas will, depending on the jhana, either just dissolve, you know, not come back, or manifest as wisdom, you know. Okay. So then we have media again, right? How can you have a question? How do I find you?
I think it's okay, Arne. I think maybe this Shantideva just referring to the higher position, isn't it? It's not for the equal. But my question is more to the, you know, triggering the mindfulness. So I'm referring to the parallel object, like our nagging friend. But maybe this example stanza is maybe for the higher rank, isn't it? Only for to trigger our embarrassment, so called.
Great.
For the higher than us.
Yeah,
position.
I sent your question to everyone because you sent it privately only. So you're saying, how about constant nagging friends, that pointing out our mindlessness? Doesn't it risky for quarrel, thus create resentment instead of embarrassment?
Okay, sorry, thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here Shantideva was talking about, let's say, higher friends, like teachers, but also we can,
My
if
point is more the one that stimulate our awareness, right? It's like putting the guards and stuff, so it's into the more understandable portions of understanding. Sorry, because yeah.
but for example, let's say we both have an agreement, that you will be my nagging friend and I will be your nagging friend. So in
Yeah.
this, let's say I'm smoking, and so I asked you to be my witness, and stop smoking, and so therefore I could be afraid, also of you, I'm in.
Oh.
So you can also help me. I'm also embarrassed, if you catch me smoking, then.
So it's need to be conditioned, and then needs to be in the mutual understanding that is for our own best effort to practice with that kind of particular bad habit, so called, isn't it? So, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just used this mutual thing, as you said. Yes, in a sangha, I think that is hopefully a mutual agreement. But even if it's not mutual, actually, if I just perceive you like that, that I am embarrassed to smoke in front of you, you don't even have to know it. Actually, it's just me, that gives you the power to be embarrassed in front of. You got it?
Yeah, I kind of like trying to figure out how to digest this stanza, because in our daily practice, in our daily life, we're not fortunate enough in the conditioning of forever being in the monitoring by our master. So that's why we need to guard our mind, also ourselves. But it's okay. I got your point that from it is us that needs to be more proactive in conditioning our own, trying to make the object from external to be our kind of like guard, just like making them as if like they have power upon us, but it's only in the means to trigger more mindfulness in our in defeating our own bad habit and etc., isn't it? Okay, then that I can understand. Okay, thank you.
And here, even though it says it talks about masters, it also talks about spiritual friend. And this, I really think, in the sangha, you can be my spiritual friend, also, and I can be yours, So that is definitely possible, even in this verse 30. But your question actually leads to verse 31, because if you don't have a living, breathing teacher around, then verse 31 is the instruction what to do. So I will go into that, okay? Because here it says, if I don't have a teacher around me, then I should remember that actually the Buddhas are always around me anyway. I just don't see them. So here, verse 31 is saying, I'm ever or always dwelling in the presence of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who are always endowed with unobstructed wisdom. So maybe you have heard that in the sutras, it says, like on each and every atom there is a Buddha, I mean, just really think about that, what that means, like there are Buddhas everywhere. It's just that we don't have the merit or the karma to see them. We don't have the eyes to see them, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So, but the thing is, from their point of view, they see us. They have the omniscience. They have the primordial wisdom that is unobstructed. Here, what is written here with unobstructed vision. So they see in one moment. They can know all the phenomena. They can read our mind. So they know exactly what mischievous things we are up to. What we are planning to do negatively. And they know that independent of time, space, location, and so on. So here, the idea here of this verse 31 is exactly what you Medya just said. Like we don't have a teacher always around. So therefore, I agree totally with you. Yes, therefore we can have spiritual friends around. This we have in the Sangha. But still, we should remember, that is verse 31, Buddhas are always there, everywhere, even, I mean, we can either go, yes, let's say they are on each atom, which is amazing, or it doesn't matter so much. Let's say Tsongsa Khyentse Rinpoche, in my example, he is there somewhere in the world, in India at the moment, hopefully in his garden, and he knows, he doesn't need time or space to know my mind. So therefore, we should remember that we are always in the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. That is the verse here, it's not like we cannot hide from them at any moment, basically. Their wisdom is there, And it reminds me, like Tsongsa Khyentse Rinpoche said, when he was younger, he sometimes, when he wanted to do something mischievous or negative, he was turning the pictures of his teachers that are on the shrine, he was turning them so that they couldn't see him, see him doing this negativity. I don't know if but he said he tells a story like that. I don't know if it's true or just good for me to say it. But then we really think the teachers, they're looking only in one direction, and therefore if you turn the picture on the shrine of the teacher, or if you cover it with a blanket, then they don't see. That is, of course, not the case. So Rinpoche said, then at some point he realized, that they don't look into one direction only, but they really know everything in all directions. That's why I meant 360 degrees of omniscience. And therefore he came to the conclusion, yes, you cannot hide from them, It's also not like... yeah, I mean, they're not judging you, in the negative way, but they know, what we are doing, and that can help us, because as the verse 30 is saying, if you're in front of a teacher, you will behave better, because he or she is watching you. But here, verse 31 is saying you are watched all the time. You are basically always in front of Rinpoche. You're always in front of the shrine, and therefore, if you have that in mind, then that alone should help you, not to behave negatively. Yeah. So this is for
that 31 stanza is more creating fear than shame. That works, okay.
But still, friends work also.
Even imagining it creates me fear. Okay, Buddha around me. Oh my. Okay.
Let's say Buddha, let's say Rinpoche is in India. He doesn't only know what is happening in here or only happening in India, but he knows, hopefully, I mean, we think he knows everything. So therefore, let's behave. Okay. And then the first two lines of 32, by thinking in this way, I shall mindfully develop a sense of shame, respect, and fear. Here, shame, remember what I said, shame is more, is defined as, I take myself as the witness and I'm not happy with what I'm doing, Respect then is more, I take others as a witness, like the embarrassment, and fear, we talked about it, So the idea is, yes, we could deceive humans, that is the thing, I could deceive Medya, and smoke secretly, in the men's toilet. She will not see it, easy. But I can never deceive the Buddhas, because they have that pervasive omniscience. And so that's why we should feel this mindfulness and this conscientiousness, you know. So we should feel shame in front of ourselves, but also then embarrassment and respect and faith towards the teachers, but also towards the Dharma, you know. And also in regard to the precepts or the vows we took. And also we feel embarrassed in front of the teacher because we don't want to waste his or her time, you know. If they gave us instructions like don't go to McDonald's or don't smoke, you know, if it came from them, then and we are still not following their advice, you know, then it's really wasting their time. And at some point, of course, they will not give advice anymore, you know, because why do it, you know, if we are not listening anyway. Yeah, and also if we see that the Buddhas are always there, that also gives a humility, you know, in our mind. And yeah, the fear, what is mentioned here in the line, in the second line, yeah, it's either the awe we have in front of the teacher, or also we are afraid of our misbehaviors and their consequences, you know, that will result in suffering for us and others. So we are afraid of that. And by knowing that, you know, we will hopefully have more mindfulness and more introspection and alertness, and thereby we will not act negatively. Yeah, really, it's like, I think Khyentse Rinpoche gave the example, now, yeah, men's toilet again. Let's say I'm there, you know, and I'm peeing. That's really Rinpoche's example. And then suddenly somebody is coming and looking at my organ down there. And then, of course, I'm stopped peeing, you know, I will be feeling very embarrassed, you know. So that was his example for that, you know, that if somebody is watching, you know, you feel embarrassed, you know, and likewise here in our conduct, you know, try to feel embarrassed all the time, you know, if you do negative things. Of course, we still have to go to the bathroom again and again. So even though we now know that the Buddhas are always watching, but still we have to do that. And of course, there's nothing embarrassing actually about that. But I hope you got Rinpoche's example here. Okay, then here's Marina's question. I'm not sure if I understand it. Can you? I unmute you. I hope that is possible. And yes, Marina, where are you?
Hi. Yeah. I guess the question is more about if you start noticing certain negative patterns, and you need to act or do something, right? But you're starting to notice it so many times, and you start overanalyzing. So then you're like, okay, do I do this action or do I do that action? And at the end, you end up not doing anything because it's just compounded. I don't, do you have advice on that? Can you speak a little bit about that level of like too many negative patterns all at once, and you're just like, okay, I don't know what to do at this point. So
why do you think there's so many negative patterns at once? You said because over-analyzing,
or I guess maybe it's the so if I start noticing, let's say I want to have a second slice of pizza, and I'm saying, okay, that's just being, I don't need a second slice of pizza. It's being greedy. And I know I'm going to be feeding into that negative pattern of just going for that extra slice. So I'm like, okay, well, I won't do that. But then I start noticing feeling proud of going for that second slice of pizza. So I'm like, okay, so I'm feeding the pride about doing that. But maybe I am actually really hungry, so maybe I do need to have that second, do I do like half a slice? Maybe I go for a tomato instead, or like a vegetable. So I'll stop there. But do you know, like it could go into this like pattern of just which action do I do in that instance if I notice that it's maybe potentially associated with a negative pattern or behavior.
I don't, it sounds so familiar, maybe because I'm exactly like that too. Because I think partly it's good, you know, if I want to, if my desire wants a second slice of pizza, but then I resist it, and then I'm proud that I resisted, right? That's you said. Then that, Khenzo Rinpoche is saying that proud is a good thing, you know. I mean, you have to give some positive feedback, you know, if you resist your kleshas. But then, of course, you if you then indulge in the pride, then it becomes another klesha and then another problem. But this, like this confidence, you know, I could resist my temptation. That is not so bad. And then if you think, okay, but I'm still hungry, but maybe tomato instead of pizza, that is also not so bad because it's in harmony with the precious human life teachings, you know, that you understand you have a precious human life, and therefore you should not be ascetic, meaning eating nothing. But then, so that would be an extreme, but also you should not be the opposite. What is it? Eating a, you know, like having like 3 whole pizzas, you know, but therefore maybe, but still you need to sustain your body, and you should give your body everything that it needs to live long because it's precious, and therefore no pizza and no tomato would be an extreme, and having 3 pizzas would be the other one. But maybe the tomato then would be the middle way in that situation. So I don't think it's so bad to have these thoughts and contemplations.
So it's okay to maybe spend, because I do tend to notice like it'll, like I think Medya, you had a good point here as well. You're saying something stand like a log. So sometimes I'll just, a decision that may take me a minute may take me now like 5 minutes to make. And that's okay to kind of go through that process, or?
But maybe in the next time it's faster, you know, because you might apply that same logic to ice cream tomorrow, and you might not have to go through the whole 5 minutes of the process. But maybe you end up buying something from the ice cream shop that is actually healthy because you need something to eat. So also there, you don't eat nothing, and you don't eat like 1 liter of ice cream, but maybe something healthy. But then sometimes maybe an extra slice of pizza is also nice to have, you know. It's nice also to enjoy life, you know, and then maybe an extra ice cream is also sometimes nice. So therefore, that is also tricky. So therefore, there's, I think, never a good standard answer, but you should see where you are at the moment, you know. If, for example, I'm going into a very ascetic lifestyle, then maybe ice cream is good, or the extra slice of pizza is good, you know. But if I see that I'm becoming addicted and obsessed with it, you know, and I'm very careless about my health, then the extra slice of pizza should be renounced. So I think it's always like very individual and situative, you know, what is actually the good result, you know. Or, so you should see what is your motivation, or and then try to and if you see there's something like negative going on, like being ascetic or like extreme going on, if something is going extreme, you know, being ascetic or being too running after the desires, then try to come back to the middle, you know.
That's helpful, thank you.
And then sometimes also maybe compassion is then in that case, it's difficult because it's about my pizza and me, and let's see who is moving first. But sometimes in a more complex situation, maybe then compassion makes it easy, you know, if other people are involved, you know. Mm-hmm. That is then maybe the answer to.
Thank you.
But I think the main thing for me is really like it depends so much on the situation. And maybe today, today it's maybe today I'm more on the desire side, so therefore I should renounce the pizza, and yeah, tomorrow I'm more on whatever depressed side or too strict side, then I should have the pizza. So it really depends. It's like, I think there's an example when like two students came to Buddha at the same time, and the one was a vegetarian and the other was not. And Buddha saw the vegetarian one was very proud and arrogant because he was vegetarian. So he told this proud vegetarian, eat meat, you know, to overcome his pride. And the other one who was eating meat, he was very careless about the suffering of the animals. And therefore Buddha told this person who is carelessly eating meat, stop eating meat, you know, they are suffering, you know, have some compassion, you know, be vegan or something. So therefore in the same minute he gave so two different advice, you know, because the people were so different and their mindset was so different. Yeah, and I think we are maybe both people from time to time. So therefore the advice has to be different also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then, I think Medya said something here. Is that good?
No, it's just commenting the Marina. I'm sorry, I'm too bavard. I'm sorry, cannot. I have the similarity with Marina K. So
yeah, and compassion to oneself. That is of course good. And yeah, the long.
You were saying that previously, you know, last session. So I think I also say that to myself, so to remind myself.
Yeah. But that is what I mean. You know, if I'm going into the addiction of pizza, then it's compassionate to stop that addiction. And if I'm going to the extreme of asceticism, you know, and being too strict and too rigid, then it's compassionate to relax and have an extra pizza, you know. So that is actually compassion to ourselves, yes. And yeah, the wood thing, the stand like a log, I think that will come also a lot in the next session, which is tomorrow, if you like. Yeah, there's really the idea that if I have the urge, you know, to say something stupid or harmful, you know, if I have the urge to do something negative with my body, then yeah, stop, you know, like put everything on standby, you know, and don't do anything, you know, but just remain as a log, you know. And yeah, what I mentioned earlier, then the pizza is in front of you, and then let's see who's doing the first move, you know. Is the pizza coming to you, or is it me going to the pizza? So, and yeah, I think if we remain mentally like stoic, like a piece of log, then yeah, I think that's it. And that will come a lot, you know. So I think, was it 27 or 21 examples, I think Shantideva will give, you know, where we should try to be like a piece of wood. 27 situations. Okay, where are we? Okay, let's do one more to finish verse 32. So we had the last two lines of verse 32. Here it's about still generating mindfulness. Also through doing this recollection, Drempa, you know, this is the same word as mindfulness, recollection, mindfulness, remembrance of the Buddha will repeatedly occur. That is like, you know, that comes, you know, if you are aware. I didn't. No, I'm still in 32, Medya, because the last two lines of 32 I didn't explain yet. So recollection of the Buddha, you know, if you know that the Buddha is there, you know, all the time, or the Buddhas are there, or there are millions of Buddhas, maybe in this room here in my living room, there are more Buddhas than me. So I if they're on each atom, so there, then also that helps our mindfulness. And that is the point here, it also helps us to recollect the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and so on, you know. so recollection of the three jewels, that is something that happens in the sutra quite often, you know, that you remember the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And Songtse Khenso Rinpoche also, when he was in the very beginning, when he taught on the Nönjo, you know, when people are not able to do prostrations out of physical impairments, then he is also suggesting just sit somewhere and recollect the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And this you can also count as a prostration. So that is the same, you know, he said. That is another way of doing the prostrations in a less traditional way. So, and here, classically, you know, in Abhisamayalankara, so in the Prajna Paramita context, we talk about 6 recollections that we do. So we recollect or remember the qualities of the Buddha. You know, for example, the result of the Buddhas, you know, all these, the kayas, you know, Dharmakaya, Sambhorakaya, Nimanakaya, and the enlightened activities. But then also we remember the causes, you know, that created the Buddhas, which is bodhichitta here in this context. And also we remember that, of course, Buddhas are empty by nature, so absolutely there's nothing to be recalled. So, and the same with Dharma, you know, we also, when we reflect or recollect, remember the Dharma, you know, then yeah, we think of the whole path, the different bhumis, the different teachings, and also then in regard to the Sangha, that we remember the qualities of the Sangha, especially if we talk about the Sangha that is irreversible, you know, on the path of application. At some point it is clear that this person will only go up, 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 and will not fall down and will not practice Shravakayana, but is really like guaranteed on the path to Buddhahood. So we can remember and recollect those qualities of those great beings. So this would be 3 recollections, and then there are 3 others. Like we remember the qualities of generosity, and then we remember the qualities of discipline, and then also we remember the qualities of bodhisattvas who appear as the hidden deity. That is more like maybe in the Vajrayana we know this. Anyway, so the idea here is, because the word recollection is used here, if we remember that the Buddhas are always around, or that if we remember that the Buddhas will know, or that our teacher knows, you know, what is happening in our mind, it doesn't matter where she is or he is, then that might inspire us to recollect the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, generosity, discipline, and the Yidam deities. Okay, let's end here. I'm out of words for today. If you have time and nothing else to do, then we can meet tomorrow at the same time. I don't know, for me this Zoom thing works. It's a nice, different experience than this webinar thing. So let's see. Yeah, thank you so much for attending, and thank you for being interactive. And it's really nice to see your, now I see Jon here in his big apartment in Pallavi. So it's very nice to see you guys. And from Copenhagen even. So please, if there was something positive, please practice it, please integrate it, and please dedicate it. And if, and I guess there were many things that were useless that I said, then please just forget them. And but yes, if there was something positive, please dedicate it to the Buddhahood of all sentient beings, you know, because nobody wants to suffer. So, and please, be determined to end the suffering of everyone. Okay, thank you guys, and see you, for example, tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.